What if the weapons that destroy an aggressor were paid for by the aggressor's own wallet? Imagine a fleet of 150 state-of-the-art fighter jets. They don't need airbases. They don't need smooth runways. They operate from village roads, hide in forests, and strike deep into enemy territory before the opposition even knows they are airborne. For Ukraine, this is no longer a fantasy. As of October 2025, it is reality. In a historic deal between Ukraine and Sweden, Kyushu secured the acquisition of 150 Saab GripenE E fighters. It is the largest combat aircraft purchase in Ukraine's history. But the shockwave sent through the Kremlin wasn't just about the hardware. It was about the money. Swedish defense officials confirmed that this massive fleet could be financed using frozen Russian assets, the billions of euros immobilized in Europe after the invasion. Moscow's own wealth is now funding the machine designed to dismantle its air force. Why does this specific jet matter? Because while the F-16 was built to fight alongside the U.S. Air Force from massive bases, the Gripen was built for one specific purpose: to kill Russian jets while fighting alone. It is designed to survive in a war where every airbase is a crater. It is designed to turn highways into front lines. Let us analyze how 150 of these guerrilla fighters will rewrite the rules of the air war before 2026. To understand the Gripen, you have to understand Sweden. For decades during the Cold War, Sweden knew that if the Soviet Union attacked, every Swedish airbase would be destroyed in the first hour. So, they developed a doctrine called GripenE. The idea was simple. If we cannot protect our bases, we will get rid of them. They built a fighter jet that could land on a standard 600-meter stretch of highway. They designed it to be refueled and rearmed in 10 minutes by a team of conscripts working out of a single truck. When the Cold War ended, the world forgot these lessons, but Sweden didn't. And now, that philosophy is Ukraine's salvation. Russian missiles have turned Ukrainian airfields into kill zones. F-16s are powerful, but they are fragile prima donnas. They need pristine runways and massive logistical support. If you bomb the runway, the F-16 is grounded. The GripenE doesn't care about runways. It thrives in the dirt. It hides in tree lines. It uses the country's road network as a massive, unbreakable airbase. Russia can bomb the airports all day, but they cannot bomb every mile of highway in Ukraine. This is aerial guerrilla warfare. Dispersed, unpredictable, and impossible to target. By the time a Russian satellite spots a heat signature on a road near Kharkov, the Gripen is already airborne. Its missiles are already locked, and the pilot is already hunting. Survival is one thing. Killing is another, and the GripenE is a master hunter. Its secret isn't stealth, coding which is expensive and maintenance heavy. Its secret is sensor supremacy. The heart of the jet is the Raven AESA radar. Unlike standard radars that look straight ahead, the Raven is mounted on a swash plate, a movable joint that lets the radar look over the shoulder of the jet. This allows for a terrifying tactic: the shoot and turn. A Ukrainian pilot can fire a missile at a Russian Su-35, turn 90 degrees away to escape danger, and still guide the missile to the target using the side-looking radar. The Russian pilot loses his lock, but the Gripen does not. Then comes the weapon, the Meteor Missile. Most air-to-air missiles are rockets. They burn fast and then coast. The Meteor is different. It has a ramjet engine. It breathes air. It accelerates all the way to the target. It has a no-escape zone 3 times larger than Russian missiles. This means a Gripen can fire from beyond the horizon. And even if the Russian pilot turns and runs at Mach 2, the Meteor will chase him down. And while the Gripen attacks, it protects itself with the Airbase Electronic Warfare suite. The system doesn't just hide the jet. It attacks the enemy's eyes. It jams Russian S-400 radars, floods their screens with false targets, and creates digital ghosts. To a Russian operator, the sky looks full of threats, or empty of everything. The Gripen doesn't need to be invisible. It just needs to make the enemy blind. When the deal was signed, the reaction in Moscow was a mix of denial and panic. At first, they laughed. Russian state TV called the Gripen a Western toy. They claimed Sweden couldn't produce enough of them, but denial turned to fear when the first reports came in. Russian pilots began using a new code name for the Gripen: the Shadow. Because the Gripen operates from everywhere, The Russians couldn't predict where the threat would come from. The no-fly fortress that Russia had built with its S-400s began to crumble. Moscow tried to escalate. They fired expensive caliber cruise missiles at Ukrainian airfields. They destroyed hangars, runways, and fuel depots. But the next morning, videos surfaced of Gripens taking off from a country road 50 miles away from the smoking airbase. Russia was burning millions of dollars in missiles to destroy empty concrete. They tried electronic jamming. Russian EOW units near the border tried to sever the connection between the Gripens and NATO satellites. But the jet is built to fight alone. Its internal systems fuse data from its own sensors, creating a God's eye view for the pilot even without a network. Every attempt to stop the fleet failed. Russian pilots stopped flying aggressive sorties. They demanded escorts. The psychological dominance of the Russian Air Force was broken, not by numbers, but by the fear of the unknown. This deal is about more than just the war in Ukraine. It is a turning point for the entire continent. For 80 years, European defense relied on the United States. If there was a war, Europe waited for Washington to send the planes. The Gripen deal changes that. This is a European jet, provided by a European power, funded by European-held assets, fighting a European war. It is the birth of distributed sovereignty. Sweden, Poland, Finland, and Ukraine are building a defense network that doesn't need permission from the Pentagon to operate. The GripenE is cheaper to fly $6,000 per hour than the American F-35 $30,000 plus per hour. It is easier to maintain. It is built for the rugged reality of Eastern Europe, not the pristine bases of the West. By using Russia's frozen 200 billion euros to fund this fleet, the West has weaponized finance. They have turned the aggressor's retirement fund into their own defense budget. As the first squadron of these 150 jets takes to the sky, the message to Moscow is clear. You can bomb our bases. You can jam our radios. You can threaten us with escalation. But you cannot stop a force that moves like a ghost. You cannot bankrupt a force that is paid for with your own money. The Gripen isn't just a fighter jet. It is the end of the era where Russia owned the sky. The highway fighter has arrived, and the air war will never be the same. If you enjoyed this analysis of the future of air combat, make sure to subscribe. What do you think, Han? 150 Gripens changed the course of the war. Let us know in the comments.